Just when we thought the Championship was shaping up, how dumb were we? Because a lot of the teams who looked like they were finally starting to make inroads, well, quite a few of them dropped points. Here's my roundup of round 7. Starting off on Friday night down at Home Park, it finished Plymouth 3, Luton 1. Not a result I expected. I'm going to hold my hands up completely to the Argyle fans on this one. I mean, I did think there'd be a draw. I thought Plymouth would get something from this game, but I was surprised to see that they beat Luton in the manner that they did. And I think you've just got to take your hat off to Plymouth. You've got to take your hat off to Wayne Rooney and the progress that has been made under him with this Plymouth team right now. And although I always fear they will maybe lack a little bit of what's required on the road, the one thing Plymouth have done since they got promoted, and the one thing they need to keep doing and ensure they keep doing, is making Home Park a fortress. And the atmosphere Friday night was fantastic, and they capitalised on that, playing some really good football. Al-Hajj's goal in the first half was a brilliant finish. Sissoko, I mean, both of his goals were absolutely outstanding. I think just the quality from Plymouth and the 3 goals they put away were absolutely brilliant. So fair play to them. As for Luton, I mean, it's just so frustrating for them, isn't it? Just when you think they'd gotten going, back-to-back wins, they go to Plymouth, and yep, it's not easy on a Friday night, but yeah, they, again, just looked so devoid of confidence. You know, you'd think maybe after the 2 wins they'd had in a row, they'd feel a little bit more confident. I really did believe that would get their season up and running, but it feels like they've sort of took a step backwards. You know, going forward, their forwards, especially Adebayo, look so devoid of confidence. So yeah, it's a little bit of a worry for Luton. They need to get their individuals, their forwards, their attacking players up to speed quickly, because this is another really disappointing result for them that just sort of sets them back to where they kind of were before. But Plymouth deserved the result here. They were absolutely brilliant, and they're proving a lot of people wrong. Blackburn 2, QPR 0. Did predict a Blackburn win here. I didn't think it would be to 0, but there we go. And obviously a huge part of that seemed to hinge on the sending off of Varane just at the end of the first half. It was a very clumsy challenge, to be fair. He gave the referee a decision to make with that one, and naturally you'd expect Blackburn, who've had a brilliant start to the season, especially at home, to get the goals required to put QPR away. So yeah, I mean, Blackburn looked like they sort of edged the game up until that point anyway, so I think they were the better side, and they have been the better side, and they got the result they deserved here. It was probably made just a little bit easier for them with the sending off, but 2-0 win is solid for them. QPR, they just seem like a very mid-table team for me. You know, they're certainly, as expected, I guess, you know, taking steps forward from where they were last season, which was dire, you know, but they are picking up points steadily. I think the one criticism is they've only picked up 1 win so far this season, a lot of draws in there, so as long as they're turning them draws into wins and them draws don't turn into defeats, I still think they'll be absolutely fine. But yeah, they'll take a step forward, but I think they're looking like a mid-table team at best. Derby 2, Norwich 3. I mean, I did say Norwich would be the team to end Derby's incredible start at home at Pride Park, and that proved to be the case. However, Derby should feel extremely aggrieved with some of the decisions by the linesman, especially in that first half, I think. Or was it the second half? I think it might have been both, to be honest with you. The first goal should never have been given. Quite crazy how it wasn't spotted that the ball went out as far as it did for Borja Sainz's first goal. I think despite Derby equalising from their strengths from set play, I think the ball might have gone out again a few minutes in the build-up to Norwich's third. So yeah, I think they have the right to be a little bit upset by the goals that were conceded, but regardless, Norwich took them really well. Borja Sainz stepping up with a hat-trick, and I think when they lose Johnny Rowe, when they lose Gabriel Sara, I think seeing other really good players stepping up is what they need, and I think Sainz and Sargent are probably the two to do that, so that's really exciting from a Norwich point of view, who really are clicking into gear right now, and I think, going to Derby and winning is no mean feat. We've seen that so far this season, so I'm really happy to see Norwich clicking, and I'm quite excited to see where they go now that they're really starting to find their feet under this new manager. And yeah, it's a defeat for Derby, but they still looked really good going forward at times. They're still utilising their strengths from set pieces. So yeah, I don't think there's much to worry about Derby at home still. It's away from home where I still have my worries. Sheffield Wednesday 3, West Brom 2. This, credit to Plymouth, respect to Plymouth's result. This was the shock of the weekend for me, just because West Brom lost, and I don't think anyone saw it coming, especially to Sheffield Wednesday. I'll hold my hands up in the preview and the predictions. One of the reasons why I had West Brom to win is because Sheffield Wednesday haven't had their scoring boots on yet this season, but they certainly had their scoring boots on here, and I think they were helped by some uncharacteristically poor defending from West Brom, but yeah, Barry Bannon continues to be absolutely instrumental in the way Sheffield Wednesday play. I would be a little concerned, if he is unable to play as regularly as maybe needed, or maybe gets an injury. I feel like he is just, even at his age, so crucial to everything that Sheffield Wednesday do going forward. So, he was absolutely fantastic and instrumental here, and this is the exact sort of result Sheffield Wednesday are capable of, especially at Hillsborough. Big crowd, when a big team's coming to town, they're capable of winning these sort of games, and I think this is a big win for them, because it has been a disappointing start, and they've sort of reminded everybody what they're capable of. And yeah, West Brom, it was just a bit of an off day, to be honest with you. I mean, there were still some of the same really big positives we've seen from West Brom this season. Josh Madger scored again, set up by Fellows again. Mowat scored another beauty. His start to the season's been brilliant, so I don't think there's too much to be concerned about. I think West Brom's defending, as I say, wasn't the best at times, but yeah, it's no reason to get too carried away or upset one way or the other with West Brom. They've still started extremely well. I think, it's a bit of a concern. They've conceded more goals in this game than what they had done in their entire season up until this point, but it's up to them to bounce back from this now, and that's what the best teams do. Hull 4, Cardiff 1. First of all, I want to just say happy 120th birthday to Hull City, which they celebrated this weekend. But yeah, Hull capitalising once again on a very poor team who are just in a shambolic moment. Now, that's why I'm not getting carried away by Hull City. Back to back, they've had Stoke and Cardiff, so you probably couldn't have been gifted with two easier games at the moment, two teams without a permanent manager. But you can only beat what's in front of you, and I think the big positive for Hull at the moment is they're scoring goals now. They're starting to score. They got 3 last week, 4 today. Took them extremely well, and they come from behind as well. So the caveat is obviously the teams they've beaten, but this could be the springboard for Hull. 2 wins on the bounce. This could really get them up and running, climbing up the table, regardless of opposition. As for Cardiff, I don't know what there is to say, to be honest with you. I think I might be right in saying they've scored twice this season. Robinson's scored both. Conceded 17 goals, rooted to the bottom. A big concern if they sack Daryl Bullitt is they would descend into this sort of chaotic period where we don't know who the next manager's going to be. There's plenty of games coming up over the next week, so how quickly are they going to get another manager in? Another 2 games will have gone by this time next weekend, so will there be another 2 games gone where they don't pick up anything? It's just, as I thought, the timing of it, I just felt like it was all just a little bit wrong from Cardiff, and I think they've made life so much harder for themselves, and they really are in a massive rut right now. So they need to get their new manager in as soon as possible, and they need to pray that they get this appointment right. Leeds 3, Coventry City 0. Now, I'm going to start by just giving Leeds their flowers here. As you'd expect, at home, Ellen Road, Leeds were brilliant. Very creative, very attacking, very fluid, a great watch, took their goals extremely well. Nonto's opening goal particularly was a very nice, well-worked goal. So yeah, Leeds, not much else to say about them. They're just doing what you'd sort of expect of them at home at Ellen Road. But I've got to just put a little bit of time aside to talk about Coventry City. Now, obviously the context of this game is that they went to Ellen Road, and most teams will struggle at Ellen Road. It's not the worst, it's not the worst result in the world losing to 0 at Leeds, but I think the worry for me was both Coventry defensively. They didn't look very good defensively when I looked at the highlights within this game, and going forward they seemed very blunt. They had more accurate passes than Leeds, yet they only created 7 shots and only 2 on target, and if anything, I would have assumed this Coventry side would be a solid defensive team. I thought that's just a guarantee with Mark Robins, but what I think would have gave them that extra gear from seasons gone by was the players they've brought in attacking areas, but they're not firing at all. And you sort of, even with a bad start from Coventry, you still sort of think, well, they'll come good. They start slow. They have done the last few seasons, and you're just sort of expecting this to be the period where they do start picking up results. And I just thought going up against a better team here they would have upped their game. But same old story for Coventry, and I'd be very eager to hear from Coventry fans in regards to Mark Robins, because I think he has more credit in the bank than any other manager in this league, but that can only take him so far. What is the consensus? What is the thought? What is the verdict on Coventry right now with Robins? What needs to change? How much pressure is on him? Because Coventry are just above the relegation zone, and I'm not expecting them to be anywhere near there at the end of the season, but as we've said, years in, years out, gone by over the last few years, they can't keep giving teams that they should be competing with big head starts, and they've done it again. So I keep expecting it to turn at any single point, and every time I do, Coventry just continue to drop points and look pretty poor. So they really need to turn things around, and they need to do it quickly. Boro 2, Stoke 0. Obviously, if you want to know, as always, my more in-depth version and views on this game, I did a full review of it in my Project Boro reviewing series. But yeah, the overall review from a Boro point of view was that this was much, much better from Boro. Everything we've been sort of asking for that we've not had in recent games, we got here. You know, we wanted a change in personnel, and I thought the front four for Boro looked a lot better, much better balance. Ben Doak was phenomenal down the right, giving us that width, giving us that high tempo intensity down the right-hand side, bringing in Riley McGree and having him back in the team transformed the attacking four. So, yeah, I thought the balance throughout the whole Boro team was good. And as I've said, you know, the problem has not been at the back for Boro this season. We are and have been one of the best defensive teams, taking out the individual errors. It's been getting it to click up front, which has been the problem. And this was a game where finally it looked a lot better. We took our chances. We still could have had more, but we put aside a team at home 2-0 comfortably, which is the exact result Boro have needed. So it's whether we can sort of capitalise on this now, because we thought we'd sort of turned the corner somewhat when we beat Cardiff, and then we went and didn't win the next two. So this result will be meaningless. I'm not getting carried away. It's all on whether we can build on it. As for Stoke, they're still tough to judge. I mean, it was the first proper game for Narcis Palash, I could say, and he didn't play into the usual template that we've seen against Boro, which was a bit of a surprise, but I think he was trying to really nail down his style and philosophy to his Stoke team, and that played into Boro's hands, unfortunately. So we caught Stoke at a good time, but I still don't think they looked that good, and I do worry for Stoke that if this appointment doesn't get going or work out, they might be going around this cycle again, and their season could really, really unravel. So here's hoping for them we start to see improvements under Narcis Palash, and we start to see his team take shape in a positive way quickly. Millwall 3, Preston 1. Preston are another team who I thought were making inroads. I thought they'd get a point, but again, they've took a bit of a step back, a bit like what I was saying about Luton. But credit to Millwall, you know, they've been so good going forward this season. You know, they're one of the best attacking teams that I've seen, and proved that once again today. You know, great goals going forward, some really well created, crafted goals, good finishing too. You know, they scored 3 goals and they had 6 shots on target, 3 big chances. So I say the conversion rate looks pretty good at least, but from the highlights, Preston's defending, again, didn't look very good at all. So I still think there's work to do for Paul Heckingbottom. I still think he'll get it right, but Preston are still very much in a hole right now, and they need to get it sorted quick. But Millwall look a very good team, a very, very solid team. I'm still not going to be getting too carried away and expecting playoffs from them or anything like that, but I think in terms of where they were last season, they've got nothing to worry about, and they're certainly taking positive strides forward. And again, I stress, I didn't expect Millwall to look this good going forward, so here's hoping for them it continues. Oxford 0, Burnley 0. This is definitely a better point for Oxford than it is Burnley. I think Burnley will be disappointed to have not won the game, but I think it's quite telling that despite having a decent XG, 14 shots, only 1 was on target. Now, that's a concern for me, and that's sort of, it's a repeat of what we've kind of seen from Burnley this season. They haven't been creating that many big chances. They've just been incredibly clinical, and it's days like this where when they don't maybe have the big chances, when they maybe don't have that clinical edge, they don't score, and they drop points. And I think this is a game they would have definitely looked at one they should be getting 3 points from. And you know what, Oxford, this is why I think they'll be happy to get a point from this, because, well, basically no XG at all, 0.09, non-existent, only 3 shots, 1 on target. Basically, didn't offer much at all going forward. But these aren't the games Oxford's season will be judged upon. These aren't the teams they'll be competing with at the end of the day. So I think for them, they might look back on this game at the end of the season and think that was a fantastic point at home to Burnley. So I think they'll be delighted with it. It continues a very, very solid start, especially at home. Portsmouth 0, Sheffield United 0, another niller. And once again, a better point for the home team here. Portsmouth, I thought, were very good. I thought they put up just as good of a fight, and they gave Sheffield United just as good as what they got here at Fratton Park. I don't think there was that much in the game, to be honest. From what I could see, highlight-wise, I think Sheffield United probably created the better of the opportunities, but Pompey still had theirs. I think there was not much between the two sides, so it's another clean sheet for Sheffield United. That's the positive. They still look very, very good going backwards and defending, and I think Pompey once again continue to show that despite their league position, they are more than competitive, and finally, their hellish opening 7 games are done, and they can now look ahead clearer to hopefully a much more gentle run of fixtures where they can finally show what they can do. But I think for each, it's a good point. Sheffield United remain unbeaten with a clean sheet, and Pompey show that they can compete with the best of them in this league. Watford 2, Sunderland 1. Now, I will apologise to Watford because I had the same scoreline, but I had it the other way around, and I said I felt like there were two teams going in opposite directions. I felt Sunderland was still very much on an upwards trajectory. Maybe Watford was slightly coming down, but fair play. They got the win here. Now, again, I don't think there was much in this game. Tom Cleverley was quoted after the game saying that maybe they weren't the better side, but they took their chances. And, 13 shots for Watford to 17 for Sunderland. Shots on target, they both had 5. These were two teams that I think were pretty equal on the most part. It just come down to a penalty in the 84th minute, which sealed the deal for Watford after what was a very clumsy tackle from Dan Neil. So, yeah, I don't know what this says about both teams, really. I don't know if this sort of pulls back my expectations on Sunderland and makes me drag them down to Watford's level, which is a mid-table kind of team, or whether I look at Watford and go, no, their expectations should be heightened and raised to where Sunderland are. So does that make Watford a potential playoff outfit? I don't know yet. I don't know with both of these sides and how their seasons might unravel, but it's a fantastic result for Watford. As I say, looked like their season might have been drifting a little bit and regressing slightly. This sort of props them right back up again. As for Sunderland, no, it's back-to-back defeats on the road. So once again, they need to prove that they can react to this well in the next game, which I believe is at home. Finally, Swansea 1, Bristol City 1. Not much to say about this game, really. I think it's a good point for Bristol City, just because their recent away record has been absolutely shocking. I thought they looked better here. Swansea had more of the ball, but I think Bristol City edged it with the chances they create. I think they created better opportunities, and Swansea's goalkeeper had another brilliant game, as he has done for much of the season. So Swansea will take a point, I think, whereas Bristol City will definitely be happy to get something on the road, not concede more than 1 goal, and I also think they should be happy with the chances they created, and if it wasn't for Swansea's goalkeeper, they'd have probably won this game. So there's my roundup of this week, ends round of championship fixtures. We will be back midweek to review and predict what happens in the midweek games, and then that'll be it for me, because I won't be here next weekend as I am on holiday. So we won't be here for next weekend's round of fixtures, but we will be back to do it all again in the midweek games, to which there are some pretty exciting ones. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below on your team and how they played this weekend, your expectations going into the next game, and just your overall thoughts on your side. Hit a like on the video, subscribe for more, as always, and hit the bell too so you never miss when a video drops. But until the next one, guys, take care, and I'll see you all in the next one.